McDonald's, Supercuts, Subway, 7-Eleven, Anytime Fitness. These are just a few of the many franchises we see every day when we're driving around our communities. So far in this series, we've looked at how you can build a business on a good idea. But you don't have to build a business from scratch to be in business. Franchises offer another way to be your own boss. In today's talk, we'll look at how you can get into business by buying already existing businesses, whether it's a franchised or another already established business. Let's start with the franchise first. First of all, what is it? Well, technically, it's any arrangement in which the owner of a trademark, business name, or copyright authorizes others to use it in the selling of particular goods or services. Now, the person who sells that right to the franchise is called a franchisor, and the person who agrees to buy the franchise is called a franchisee. I like to think of a franchise as a system or model that can be repeated with success over and over again. Now, this takes some pretty big thinking to figure out a repeatable business model that works in a lot of different places, and I have a lot of respect for what franchises have done. When an entrepreneur comes up with a franchise that scales around the world, I think it's genius. If you've done a lot of traveling like I have, you probably have a special place in your heart for franchises. Now, don't get me wrong, I do enjoy trying the local cuisine, but I get a little nervous eating too frequently from kiosks and food carts in foreign cities. For one thing, I don't know what I'm eating, and I'm not always sure if my digestive system can handle it. So in situations like that, I often look for an American food franchise. I know when I've gone off and I've tried to be Anthony Bourdain, I've paid the price a few times. A couple of years ago, I was on a job assignment in Hong Kong, Malaysia, and Singapore. I spent 3 months in Southeast Asia. Now, that was quite an adventure, and I really enjoyed it. Hong Kong and Singapore were pretty easy countries for me to eat in. But Malaysia, that was a different story. I was living in a Hilton hotel next to the main train station in Kuala Lumpur. The hotel said they served Western food for breakfast. Now, that sounded pretty good to me. I was expecting sausage and eggs, but instead the kitchen served food like baked beans and cheeseburgers. I guess they weren't lying. I mean, it was Western food, but it wasn't what I wanted at 6:30 in the morning. So I found myself going to the McDonald's at the train station almost every day for lunch. And you know what? I can tell you that a quarter pounder with cheese and a large fry tastes just the same in Kuala Lumpur as it does in Muncie, Indiana. Now, why is that? Well, it's the McDonald's franchise system. I'll paraphrase the late great business writer Peter Drucker. He said, McDonald's first designed the end product, then it redesigned the entire process of making it so that every piece of meat, every slice of onion, every bun, every piece of fried potato would be identical, turned out in a precisely timed and fully automated process. A lot of refined thinking and innovation has taken place to deliver that Big Mac to you anywhere in the world. But most importantly, a lot of discipline has gone into building the McDonald's brand. McDonald's expects a lot from its franchisees. To make this system work so reliably, the franchisee must agree to some pretty strict terms. If franchises didn't follow firm guidelines, there would be too much variability in the product and service all around the world. That wouldn't be good. The franchisor wants customers to know exactly what they're getting. Okay, here's how the franchise arrangement works. The franchisee usually makes an agreement with the franchisor to commit to a financial obligation to have the business. You can often find what the franchise expects by inspecting their Uniform Franchise Offering Circular. This is a form filed in most states. Your state government will have these on record. But if you go to about any franchise's website, you can find what they require from potential franchises in their opportunities section. Normally, the franchise fees are made up of an initial fee and a royalty payment that must be made each year. You really need to be careful what you commit to because the royalty payments can cut into your margins pretty quickly if you're not careful. But the reason entrepreneurs decide to buy a franchise is because the franchisor offers to set you up in a proven system. And good franchises make the startup process a lot easier than building a business from scratch. For one thing, they often sell the franchisee standardized inventory and equipment. Okay, so far in this course, I've spoken about the challenges of trying to figure out your supply chain quite often. Well, by buying a franchise, you tap right into a mature supply chain and you benefit from the cost savings that come from being in a system that has large economies of scale. You also benefit from the brand recognition of the franchise. A regular startup business might take years to build up a name that people recognize. With a franchise, once you put up a sign and open those doors, people know what you're all about. Now, to maintain that reputation, the franchisor is going to expect you to follow their system because a franchise makes its money by maintaining a consistent image of quality products and quality service. And to do that consistently, the franchise will probably expect you to use their precise techniques and processes to make that happen. So, before you even open your doors, you should expect to spend some time going to training classes on how to run that business. It might even be required by the franchise. Now, this actually makes sense. The franchise makes its money by having well-run locations that keep buying inventory and making royalty payments all the time, everywhere. They don't like to close stores. In fact, just the opposite. They like to open stores. As long as the current stores are doing well, the reputation of the chain will be good. Then it's going to be more likely that more people will open new stores in new locations. And as the brand grows, all the stores benefit. And the community of owners and that relationship with headquarters is another often overlooked strength of owning a franchise. Many franchisees in a chain will help each other by giving each other tips and support. Plus, a good franchise chain often provides coaching and financial assistance. They know how to get a store up and they know how to get it running. Have you ever gone away on vacation and come back to town and notice a new franchise on the corner? I know I have. You get that moment of, when the heck did they build that store? Well, franchises can bring a traveling construction crew and have your store up in weeks. It's actually pretty amazing. So, with all these benefits, it's no surprise that so many people buy franchises. But there are a few words of warning I have for you about franchises. Franchises can be very expensive. In fact, it's not uncommon to be faced with fees of $50,000 to even $1 million to be in that franchise. You will share a lot of your revenues with the franchise, so you want to consider whether you can do this type of business on your own. It's a calculation that you're going to have to make. So, think about it this way. If you were going to open, let's say, a hamburger restaurant, something like McDonald's, could you get good deals on inventory? Is a hamburger restaurant the type of business that really needs a big corporate name attached to it? Can you get a commercial loan for real estate? You see, only you can decide if your bottom line is healthier being connected to a franchise or whether it's better to go alone. It seems like people who go the McDonald's route do okay. Compare how many local hamburger joints shut down compared to McDonald's. The McDonald's system is a proven winner. But the financial side isn't everything. Another aspect of franchises that frustrates some owners is the control the home office might have over you. In order to maintain a degree of uniformity from location to location, you might be limited in what you can do. Many people get into business to be their own bosses. But are you really your own boss with a franchise? Well, yes, because you own it. But you are reporting to someone over you who, if you don't fulfill your contract, well, they can fire you. That's right. If you don't meet the terms of the franchise agreement, the franchisor can take it away from you and sell those rights to someone else. Creativity is limited in a franchisee's establishment. The other caveat you need to be aware of with franchises is that not all franchises are run the same. Some franchises offer really good support, while others are notorious for not fulfilling the promises they make to franchisees. This is especially true in some of the newer, less well-known franchises that pop up in the market. Like any business you're thinking about buying, do your due diligence. Research any franchise you're thinking about buying. Googling the company is a good start. Read stories about the franchise. Search on YouTube to see if there are any complaint videos by franchisees. But I can't emphasize to you enough to go find your own reviews of a franchise. Make it a point to talk to current and past franchise owners of the chain. You'll be surprised how much they'll open up to you. If the franchisees love the chain, they'll welcome you into the family. More than likely, they'll talk to you because you won't be seen as a threat. The franchise avoids competition within its own ranks, and they're usually pretty careful about where they open new locations. They want their stores to do well, so the franchise will usually not let stores compete against each other. Now, if a franchisee doesn't like the chain, believe me, they'll be more than willing to talk to you. A spurned franchisee will love having an open ear to share their woes with. Now, it doesn't mean that you should not buy a franchise from the company, because it's possible the franchisee might just be a difficult person. They might not be happy with anything they do. So again, it's up to you to weigh all the evidence and then make your own decision. Now, franchises aren't the only way to build a business off someone else's work. You can buy a business from someone else who wants to sell theirs. There are a lot of businesses for sale out in this world, and there are a lot of good reasons to buy one. First of all, much like a franchise, the business owner has eliminated a lot of the time and effort needed to start that new enterprise. If you want to be in a particular line of business, buying a company is oftentimes a great way to start. The business also has a track record. It already has a customer base and a name in the area. Now, it's up to you to determine if that customer base is big enough for you. After all, maybe the business wasn't a good idea in the first place, and the owner is simply trying to get out before they lose everything. But maybe the most intriguing reason to buy a business is that you might be able to get it for a bargain price. The owner may want to sell it quickly because of retirement, or maybe illness, maybe to raise money for an emergency, or just to pursue another opportunity. I've known many entrepreneurs who just get tired of dealing with the business. They don't necessarily want to get out for financial reasons. In fact, a lot of times it's actually personal. If you can find a seller in this situation, they'll often make a great deal with you. You see, they want to get on with the next stage of their life, and they're more than willing and ready to sell. Those can oftentimes be great business opportunities. But there's another great opportunity for you if you're savvy, and that's finding businesses that are actually doing poorly, and then figuring out how to turn them around. Some businesses have been neglected, and with some TLC, they could actually be profitable. It's likely that the owner has gotten sloppy or become absent in its day-to-day operations. It's falling apart from lack of care, and a good diagnosis of a company's weaknesses and a firm hand in fixing the problems can do wonders in rebuilding that business. People have sought the formula for building a fortune, and one of the surest ways is to buy a struggling business at a cheap price, fix it, and then sell it. Recently, I received sage advice from a turnaround specialist in Indiana. Leland Boren is the CEO of Avis Industrial Corporation. That's a company located in Upland, Indiana. He's seen it all in nearly 7 decades in business. He built his organization with Loretta Boren, his late wife. He also owns 23 businesses and has built, bought, and sold many others during his career. Well, Boren took me on his private jet for a whirlwind tour of 4 of his companies in Canada and the United States. And it didn't take me long to discover that his work ethic and mental acuity would put people half his age to shame. During this trip, I discovered his entrepreneurial philosophy was very similar to that of Warren Buffett. Leland says that he's been seeking companies that are good at what they do, but are undervalued by the market. He looks at the company's books and then he tours their facilities. He sees if there's any potential there, and he starts diagnosing why the company is struggling. Once he finds the problems, he puts the current management on a mission to fix them. And if they don't, they're gone. But what he's found in most situations is once the management and the employees know what to do, they often respond. He gives them targets with specific metrics to track, and he follows up continuously to make sure they're moving forward. If the numbers are off, he asks them point blank why they're not hitting those targets. That method works pretty well. He firmly believes turnarounds quickly become a win-win situation for everybody because profits go up, value increases, and wealth is made and jobs are saved. And Leland's really good at turnarounds. So good, in fact, that every day he gets an offer to buy a company and turn it around. When it comes to examining a potential target for acquisition, he advises potential buyers to first examine the company's history with cash. Accounts receivables and payables are good indicators of cash management, so he turns to those first when he does a financial analysis. Second, he looks at their product line and considers whether improvements can be made to them. Then, he analyzes whether there's the potential to expand that current product line. Since a factory is a fixed cost, a better return on investment is possible if you find complementary products to build and sell. This might also require hiring people, and you might have to add a few new work shifts. But fourth, he removes any intangibles and goodwill out of that company valuation. You see, that allows him to negotiate based on the true performance of the company. Fifth, he examines the company's sales team performance to determine whether it's performing as well as it can too. All right, here's another little secret I learned from spending time with this business genius. If you really want to see a good indicator of how a company is run, go to the bathrooms. It will tell a lot about a company's attention to detail. Look for people smoking in the restrooms and check for graffiti in the stalls. Check if soap dispensers are full. If the restrooms are not clean, it might be a good sign that new management is needed in that company. He's always looking for those little tells, those little details that indicate the way the company is really being run. Once a company is purchased, Boren advises that talented, hardworking managers should be hired to fix the weaknesses that he found in the company. New procedures, rules and regulations, improved habits, increased sales efforts, and simple fixes such as plant layout changes can bring quick improvement. Well, with this methodology and philosophy, Boren is usually able to turn around companies in about 2 years, and he makes back his initial investment fairly quickly. And these are the type of people you want to seek out for advice. Find other people like Leland Boren to turn to help mentor you in starting your business. You might find yourself turning into a turnaround artist one day too. And if you want to get started doing this, there are a lot of people you can turn to find opportunities. One of the best sources are business brokers. These are professionals who represent the owner of the company. They're kind of like real estate agents. They put the business on the market and they help the owner find a buyer. Business brokers are helpful to both sides in getting deals done. For the owner, a broker reaches out to a much larger group of potential buyers. They know where they are. And for buyers, the broker shares information that helps them learn more about opportunities. You can also learn about businesses for sale in traditional media outlets like newspapers and trade magazines. So, let's say you've located a business that you might be interested in buying. What steps can you take to get started? Well, one important thing you can do is examine the assets of the company. Any seller should be more than willing to open up the books of the business and they should actually show you around the facility itself. You definitely need to check out the inventory, because guess what? If you buy the business, you get the inventory that's in stock. So check out the condition of it. Really look for how old it is. Think about what the quality of it is. Is it still something that would sell on the market? And if it's in good shape, you may have to pay a little more in your final price. But if it's not in good shape, you might be able to get it at a better price when you buy the business. Okay, what about the facilities? You really have to take a good look at the property. Is the furniture nice? Does the equipment work well? Are the fixtures in good shape? Will new electrical wiring need to be redone? What about the water system? In fact, take a walk around the building. Remember, once you buy the business, any problems with it are yours. But if you spot problems yourself, you might be able to bring the price down. That's savvy. When you look at the books, pay special attention to the accounts receivable. What's the age of outstanding debt that customers have with the owner? What's the credit standing of the business's customers? It may be that the owner is just really bad at keeping his accounts straight. With more discipline in managing paperwork and following up on customers, cash flow might actually be improved. Another important question to ask is, does the business have a lot of accounts payable that need to be caught up on? Don't let these accounts sneak up on you. Check out the company's intellectual property. Does it have any trademarks, patents, or copyrights that have value? If it's a technology company, you might be able to buy some intellectual assets at a really good price. Also, check out the reputation of the company in the community. And don't forget to learn about the employees of the company, because one day they might be your employees. You'll want to get a good idea of their work ethic and their skill sets. Are these people you'll want to retain, or will you need to bring in a new crew? This is a big issue because the employees might be wary of a new owner. If they're loyal to the past owner or fearful of changes that you might make, you might get off to a rocky start. You don't need that when you buy a business. You'll want to project a confident but respectful image when you visit the plant during tours and negotiations. You have to give the employees the feeling that the future is going to be positive. At the same time, if the company has managers, then you need to communicate that problems will need to be fixed. Now, everyone approaches this differently. Some entrepreneurs like Leland Boren like to set the tone with management that there's a new sheriff in town, that the old ways won't fly under this new regime. But then there's others that like to present a sense of working together to save the company. This is what Jack Stack did when he bought Springfield Remanufacturing Corporation from International Harvester. SRC was a failing manufacturing plant that was about to be shut down. But Stack rallied the employees and managers to work together with him in finding cost savings throughout the company. The entire plant tracked everything, and they looked for any way they could to cut waste. Every person kept track of what they used on a huge scoreboard inside the company, and over the course of time, the bottom line did improve. Once the company became solvent, the stocks in the company soared. By getting everyone on board with this new management approach, SRC stock went from a dime a share before the purchase to almost $200 per share when it was in service for quite a while. So, Jack Stack has shown that you don't have to frighten everyone to make a turnaround work. I'm not sure that there's any one way to do this, but what I do believe works in turnarounds is authenticity. When you deliver a message to your new team, you need to mean it. Whether it's a tough or a supportive message, it's still probably different than the uninspiring attitude of the last owner. After all, most times the employees and managers usually aren't too surprised when a business goes up for sale. But the early days of acquiring a business are critical. You only get one chance to make a first impression. Okay, so let's say you're interested in buying the business. Now what? Well, it's time to negotiate. Buying a business is a lot like buying a house or buying a car. You see, the seller wants to get the highest price possible, and the buyer wants to get the cheapest price possible. So, how does the seller come up with their price? Well, they'll probably try to put a high value on the assets of the company. The seller will value assets based on what everything might cost if you went out and built the business from scratch. So, for example, maybe a full stock room of inventory would cost $100,000. The equipment would cost $400,000, and the building would cost $1 million to build. If we add all that up, that's $1.5 million. Now, of course, you're going to counter that buying these assets on the market would mean that everything was brand new, but you're not buying it in that condition. So, you'll offer a price based on what the actual assets would be if the business was liquidated. Maybe you do some research on eBay and you go to local real estate websites and find that you can get the same type of inventory for $30,000. And you can get the equipment for $100,000, and you can find a building just like that for $500,000. Well, when you do your addition, that comes to $630,000. Clearly, that's a much lower price than the $1.5 million the seller was asking for. Of course, the seller won't go for the $630,000 price, just like you wouldn't go for the $1.5 million price. But those two prices now become the range in which the negotiations can take place. Is it really realistic that a price difference this big would take place? Yes, it is, because it happens all the time. Every negotiation is different. It has its own dynamics. Some happen quickly, and some can take months. I know one entrepreneur who took over a year to finally strike a deal with the seller. But if I can give you one tip to make the negotiations go as well as possible, it's this. Listen, listen, listen. If you can get the other side talking, you can often uncover information that can be very, very useful to you later in the deal. Ask a lot of questions and listen for any inconsistencies in the answers. Anything that you can uncover that might be able to bring down the price is a good thing. Now, if the owner is tight-lipped, you might want to proceed even more cautiously and drive those negotiations a little bit longer. Now, if you're really interested in a business, I highly recommend that you have your accountant look at the books as well. After all, if you were buying a used car, wouldn't it be nice to have a mechanic look under the hood for you? Well, that's what your accountant does when they look at the books. They can help you a lot in finding the right price for that business. And when you get that good price, you might want to move forward and close the deal so that someone else doesn't take that opportunity away from you. I think it's worth noting that there's probably going to be a lot of opportunities over the next several years to buy businesses. With about 8,000 Americans turning 60 every day, more and more business owners are thinking about retiring. In fact, it's been estimated that 1 in every 6 businesses owned by baby boomers will be going up for sale each year. And you'll find most owners are willing to sell because their children aren't taking over the businesses. In fact, less than 15% of family businesses make it down to a 3rd generation. So, if you're interested in buying a business, you can probably find a good deal these days. If you're thinking about buying a franchise or business, add this to your toolkit. Get a 360-degree view of the franchise or business. You want to answer these questions for your toolkit. What do the owners or franchisors claim are the strengths of owning their franchise or owning their business? What do other franchisees say about owning the franchise, or in the case of buying a business, what do the current employees say about working at that business? 3, what do customers say about the franchise or business? And 4, what trends are dominating the industry, and what do the trends look like? Is the industry trending upwards, or is it in a slump? And what's the competition looking like these days? Not just in the industry, but also where's it located? Or where are you going to locate? What is it like as far as competition all around that spot? Okay, in today's talk, we examine how you can get into business without starting from scratch. Franchises offer you a chance to buy a business with a proven track record. But if working in a controlled environment is not what you want to do, you can buy an already existing business. Some businesses are in pretty good shape, and you might have to pay a premium to get them. But there are many on the market that can be very affordable because the owner has personal reasons for getting out, or the company is struggling and the owner has to get out because they're not running it very well. These types of businesses offer wonderful turnaround opportunities. New owners who can take an objective look at why a business is failing and then fix the problems can make big fortunes. So, whether it's franchises or buying businesses, you have a lot of ready-made opportunities sitting around all around you. Go after them.